I once believed that love was pure. Something money could never touch. Something hearts could never counterfeit. But that belief shattered on the night I saw Ethan Moore, one of America's youngest billionaires, staring at his credit card with tears in his eyes. That man had everything: wealth, influence, a name that opened doors in every city. But love? That was the one thing money had always denied him. He wanted to be loved for who he was, not for what he owned. So one quiet evening, under the golden haze of a Manhattan sunset, he decided to do something no man of his status had ever dared. He handed his credit card to 3 women: his girlfriend, his personal assistant, and his maid. It was not just a gesture. It was a test. A test that would uncover the kind of love that cannot be bought, only proven. But what the maid did with that card would break his heart in ways even he, a man hardened by betrayal, could never have imagined. Before I take you deeper into this story, let me pause for a moment to appreciate everyone watching. To all our new viewers and returning family, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your presence, your comments, your engagement, they are what give this channel life. And if you are new here but have not yet subscribed, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button right now. It is the fuel that keeps us going, the energy that keeps these real-life stories alive. Do not forget to share your thoughts in the comments below as we dive into this emotional storm of love, betrayal, and truth. Now back to Ethan Moore's story. Ethan was 35, tall, with the kind of charm that drew attention the moment he walked into a room. But behind his calm brown eyes lived a sadness that few could understand. I first met him when I was hired as an interior consultant for his new penthouse in Beverly Hills. His life looked perfect from the outside. His girlfriend Vanessa was a fashion model with millions of followers. His personal assistant Clara was brilliant and efficient, and his maid Lila, quiet and shy, kept his home immaculate. Yet Ethan felt lonely. For years, he had given love and received greed. Women came into his life like storms, beautiful, wild, and destructive. They left him emptier each time, proving his worst fear right: that perhaps in his world, love was just another form of business. That evening, after a long meeting, Ethan invited me to stay for dinner. It was there I heard him speak those words that would later change all their lives. "I am done guessing who loves me," he said, staring at the 3 women across the table. "So tonight I will find out." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a sleek black credit card, and placed it gently on the table. "I want each of you to take this card for 24 hours. Buy whatever makes you happy. No limits. No questions. What you choose will tell me everything I need to know." Vanessa laughed first, tossing her silky hair over her shoulder. "You want to know what makes me happy? I hope your bank can handle that." Clara smiled politely, adjusting her glasses, her mind already racing with ideas. Lila, the maid, looked down at her hands, unsure whether she had heard him correctly. Ethan leaned back, silent, watching their reactions. It was not about the money. It was about what money revealed. Vanessa took the card first. She left the mansion that same night, her heels clicking against the marble floor like a countdown to revelation. By morning, her social media was already filled with photos: designer boutiques, champagne at luxury hotels, a new diamond bracelet glimmering on her wrist. She captioned one post, "Happiness is a lifestyle." When Ethan saw it, he said nothing. He simply smiled, that kind of cold, understanding smile of a man who has seen the truth too many times. Next came Clara. Unlike Vanessa, she did not flaunt her purchases. She went straight to a financial firm downtown and invested a large sum into a tech startup, her own secret project she had been building quietly for years. She told herself it was for their future, that she wanted to prove she could multiply his wealth, not waste it. But deep down, her ambition had always been bigger than her loyalty. She wanted to show Ethan she could be his equal, maybe even his competition. Ethan admired her intelligence, but something about her choice unsettled him. Love, he thought, should not need a justification. Then came Lila. She was the quietest of them all. The daughter of immigrants, raised on hard work and humility. She cleaned floors with care as if the tiles were her own reflection. When Ethan handed her the card, she hesitated. "Sir, I cannot take this," she said softly. He smiled. "Please, Lila. You deserve to be happy too. Buy whatever your heart desires." That night, Lila disappeared into the city. No social media posts, no designer bags, no calls. She returned the next evening just before sunset, her eyes red and tired. She handed the card back to Ethan without saying a word. He looked at her and asked gently, "Did you buy anything for yourself?" She shook her head. "No, sir. But I did buy something for someone who needed it more." Ethan frowned, confused, but she said nothing more. The following morning, as sunlight spilled into the living room, Ethan sat alone, holding the card, reviewing the receipts. Vanessa's total, $189,400. Luxury, glamour, vanity. Clara's total, $1 million. Investment, ambition, self-advancement. Lila's total, $6,742. But her purchases made no sense. A wheelchair, children's clothing, hospital bills, a few grocery receipts. Ethan's chest tightened as he looked through them. Who are these for?" he whispered. When he called Lila into his office, she came quietly, her hands folded in front of her, her eyes humble and full of something he had not seen in years, compassion. She told him she had gone to a local hospital. There was a single mother she cleaned for once, before working for Ethan. The woman's child had been paralyzed in an accident, and she had not been able to afford treatment or food. Lila used the card to pay off their bills, buy the child a wheelchair, and fill their home with groceries. "I did not think I deserved happiness," Lila said softly. "But they did." For a long moment, Ethan could not speak. Something in him cracked wide open. All the luxury, all the polished perfection of his world faded beside that single act of love. He had set out to test hearts, but what Lila bought that night revealed something deeper than love. It revealed humanity. And that was when I realized something too, sitting quietly in the corner, watching them. Money can measure worth, but it can never measure the heart. Ethan's test was not just about loyalty. It was about finding someone whose happiness was not tied to wealth, but to kindness. As Lila walked away from his office that day, unaware of the storm she had just stirred in his heart, Ethan whispered under his breath, "Maybe this time, I finally found love." But little did he know, what came next would shatter him even more than betrayal ever had. Because what Lila did next was something no one, not even I, could have seen coming. The days that followed Lila's quiet act of kindness were filled with a strange stillness in the Moore mansion. Ethan tried to go about business as usual, meetings, interviews, charity events, but nothing felt the same. The test had opened something inside him that he could no longer close. He found himself replaying every detail of that evening. Vanessa's laughter echoing through the hall, Clara's sharp confidence as she made her pitch about investments, and Lila's trembling hands as she held that card like it was a sacred thing. 3 women. 3 different choices. 3 reflections of his life, wealth and loneliness. He thought he had seen everything money could buy, but now he was beginning to understand what it could not. The truth was, Ethan had not created the test just out of curiosity. He had done it out of pain. 2 years earlier, he had been betrayed by a woman he nearly married. She had loved the version of him that existed in public, the billionaire with the luxury jets and the magazine covers, but she never once looked at the man underneath. When she left, she took more than his money. She took his ability to trust. That was why this test mattered. Ethan needed proof that love could exist without a price tag. So when Lila spent thousands not on herself but on a struggling mother and her child, something deep in him shifted. He could not stop thinking about her simple honesty, her quiet humility. She was the one person who had no reason to impress him. Yet she was the only one who touched his soul. But not everyone in that mansion shared his admiration. Vanessa, his girlfriend of 3 years, began to notice Ethan's distance. She had expected him to be impressed by her spending spree, to admire her boldness and her taste. But instead he grew colder. He smiled less. He spent more time at home, and more time talking to Lila than to her. One morning, as I walked into the mansion for a design follow-up, I overheard Vanessa complaining to Clara in the corridor. "He is changing," Vanessa said, her tone sharp and restless. "He barely looks at me anymore. He used to love when I dressed up, when I brought him gifts. Now he looks at me like I am some stranger." Clara's voice was calm but calculating. "You know men like him, Vanessa. They get bored easily. Maybe it is time you remind him of what he has. Vanessa laughed bitterly. And how do you suggest I do that? He is a billionaire, Clara. What could I possibly give him that he does not already own? Clara paused. His trust. Clara had her own agenda. Her investment project was doing well, but she had noticed something more valuable than business potential. Ethan's emotional vulnerability. She had worked for him for 4 years, managing his schedules, contracts, and even personal secrets. She knew when he was lonely. She knew when he was angry. And now, she knew when his heart was drawn elsewhere. Clara saw Lila as a threat. She began to subtly undermine her. Small comments, gentle manipulations, things that Lila, innocent as she was, did not notice. Clara told Ethan that Lila was spending too much time outside, that she had been seen talking to strangers near the hospital she donated to. At first, Ethan brushed it off. Lila is not like that, he said. She is not after anything. But Clara's words lingered, slowly planting seeds of doubt in his mind. One evening, Ethan returned home from a charity gala. Vanessa was away on a modeling trip. Clara had just left for a business dinner, and only Lila remained in the house. She was in the kitchen, wearing her plain gray dress, humming softly as she prepared tea. Ethan watched her quietly from the doorway. Her movements were calm, her face serene. It was a rare kind of peace that money could not buy. Lila, he said softly. She turned, startled but smiling. Good evening, sir. He stepped closer. I have been thinking about what you did with the card. You did not spend a cent on yourself. Why? Lila looked down. Because I do not need much, sir. I am happy with what I have. But do you not want anything? A new home, clothes, a vacation? She shook her head. Happiness, sir, is not in having more. It is in giving enough. Ethan's throat tightened. For the first time in years, someone had given him words that healed instead of hurt. Without realizing it, he found himself visiting the hospital she helped. He wanted to see for himself what she had done. When he arrived, the nurses recognized his name immediately. They showed him the ward she had paid for. A small, clean room where the child now smiled in a brand new wheelchair, his mother weeping in gratitude. On the wall was a small note, written in Lila's handwriting. For those who cannot afford hope, may love find you even when money cannot. Ethan stood there for several minutes, unable to move. He felt something inside him break, and then rebuild. He realized then that Lila had done more with his money than he had ever done with his fortune. She had given meaning to it. But just as love began to grow in the quiet spaces between them, Clara's jealousy took root. A few days later, Ethan received an anonymous message. A set of photographs showing Lila meeting a man at the same hospital. The message read, "She is not who you think she is." Ethan's heart sank. The images showed Lila handing an envelope to the man, then walking away. Doubt twisted through his chest. Was she giving away his money again? Was this man part of something bigger? He tried to convince himself that Lila was innocent, but the seed of mistrust had already been planted. The next morning, he called her into his office. His voice was cold, distant, almost businesslike. "Lila, I need to ask you something," he said, his eyes unreadable. "Who is the man you met at the hospital?" Lila froze. Her lips parted, but words failed her. "He is someone I knew from before," she said finally. "From before?" "Yes, sir. He is my husband." The room went silent. Ethan's heart stopped. "Your husband?" Lila nodded slowly. "We have been separated for 2 years. He is ill, and I was helping him with his treatment." Ethan turned away, his chest tight with anger and confusion. He felt foolish, betrayed, and heartbroken all at once. He had given her his trust, his respect, maybe even the beginnings of love, and she had hidden the one truth that mattered most. Lila tried to explain, tears streaming down her face. "Sir, I did not want your pity. I only wanted to work honestly. When you gave me that card, I thought of my husband's pain, not myself." But Ethan could not hear her anymore. The wound was too fresh. "Leave," he said quietly. "Take a month off. I will send your pay." Lila stood there for a long moment, trembling. Then she nodded, wiped her eyes and walked out of the mansion, leaving behind the silence of a love that could have been. That night, Ethan sat alone in his study, the same credit card lying on the desk before him. He had wanted to test love, but now love was testing him. He did not know it yet, but the truth about Lila's husband, and the reason she had hidden it, would soon shatter everything he thought he knew about love, loyalty, and forgiveness. Because what Lila was hiding was not betrayal, it was sacrifice. And when Ethan finally discovered the full truth, it would be too late to take back the pain he had caused her. The night Lila left the Moore mansion, silence fell over the house like a heavy curtain. Every sound felt too loud, every empty hallway, too cold. Ethan sat in his study for hours, staring at the card that had once been his tool for truth, but had now become a symbol of guilt. He had wanted to expose greed, not goodness. Yet in his obsession with honesty, he had broken the only pure heart that had ever crossed his path. Days passed, but Lila's absence echoed louder than her presence ever had. The air felt dull, the food tasteless, even the city lights beyond the penthouse windows seemed dimmer. Ethan tried to convince himself that he had done the right thing, that a woman who kept secrets could never be trusted. But deep inside, he knew he had made a mistake. Then one rainy afternoon, something unexpected happened. Ethan was in his office, preparing for a meeting, when Clara walked in. Her tone was unusually calm. "Ethan, there is something you should see." She handed him a manila envelope. Inside was a set of hospital documents, a newspaper clipping, and a letter written in delicate handwriting. Ethan's heart began to race as he unfolded the pages. The hospital papers confirmed a man's death, Daniel Brooks, age 34, deceased 3 days ago from lung cancer. The clipping was a small obituary, unnoticed by the world, but it mentioned one name that made Ethan's hands tremble. Survived by his wife, Lila Brooks. The letter attached was from Lila herself, dated the same day she had left the mansion. "Dear Mr. Moore, I am sorry I could not explain everything that day. You gave me something that changed my life, and I did not know how to repay you other than with honesty now that it no longer matters. The man you saw me with was my husband, Daniel. We separated when I started working for you. Not because we stopped loving each other, but because he did not want me to see him die slowly. He was proud, and I respected his wish. When you handed me your card, I did not think about clothes or jewelry. I thought about him. I wanted him to have one more chance to live, one more day without pain. I knew you might never forgive me for keeping my marriage secret, but please understand, I did not hide it for deceit. I hid it to survive. I wanted to prove that there are still people in this world who can do good without expecting reward. You gave me that chance. Thank you for letting me believe that kindness still matters. With gratitude, Lila." The words blurred before Ethan's eyes. The realization hit him like a storm. She had not betrayed him. She had been protecting someone she loved. Her silence had not been deception, it had been sacrifice. He sank into his chair, pressing a trembling hand against his forehead. "My God, what have I done?" he whispered. Clara stood quietly, but there was no guilt in her expression, only the cold satisfaction of someone who had gotten what she wanted. "I thought you should know," she said softly. Ethan looked up at her. "You knew about this, did you not?" Clara hesitated. "I suspected." He stood abruptly, anger flashing in his eyes. "You suspected? You could have told me before I humiliated her." Clara swallowed hard. "Ethan, you needed to see that she was hiding something. I did it for you." He shook his head slowly, disappointment heavy in his voice. "No, Clara. You did it for yourself." That was the moment Ethan saw Clara for who she truly was. Not a loyal assistant, not a friend, but another person who wanted control over his emotions. Without another word, he dismissed her. "You can leave now, Clara. For good." That evening, Ethan drove through the rain to the small part of town where Lila once lived. Her apartment was quiet, the lights off, a neighbor's voice faintly saying she had moved out a few days after her husband's death. No forwarding address. No contact. Nothing but emptiness. He felt a hollow ache inside him, a mixture of grief, guilt, and longing. So much wealth. And yet he could not buy one more moment with the only woman who had ever given him love that cost nothing. Weeks turned into months. Ethan withdrew from the world. His social circle faded. Vanessa moved on to another man with deeper pockets, and Clara's investment schemes collapsed without his support. But Ethan did not care. He had learned that truth without empathy is cruelty, and tests without understanding can destroy the very thing they seek to reveal. Then one morning, nearly 3 months later, a delivery arrived at the mansion. A small brown box with no sender's name. Inside was a framed photo. It was the boy from the hospital, the one Lila had helped with Ethan's card. He was sitting in his wheelchair, smiling brightly, holding a handmade card that read, "Thank you, Mr. Moore. Lila told me that even rich people can have kind hearts too." Tucked beneath the frame was a short note written in the same gentle handwriting. "I heard you supported the hospital in my husband's name. Thank you. I have found peace now, and I hope you do too. Lila." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. He remembered the way she used to smile softly when he thanked her. The way she looked at the world with humility instead of envy. He whispered to himself, "You broke my heart, Lila, but you also healed it." That day, Ethan drove back to the hospital. The wing she had donated to, the one she paid for during the test, was now named the Brooks Recovery Unit, with a small inscription on the wall. "For those who cannot afford hope, may love find you even when money cannot." He stood there for a long time, surrounded by people who would never know how their healing began. With a maid's compassion and a billionaire's regret. Years later, when I, the narrator, sat with Ethan for an interview about philanthropy and faith, his eyes still softened whenever her name came up. He had turned his wealth into something beautiful. A foundation that supported families in medical crisis, inspired by Lila's sacrifice. He had learned that love does not announce itself in luxury. It hides quietly in small acts of selflessness. I asked him one question that day, the same question that many others had asked before me. "Do you think you will ever love again?" He smiled faintly and looked out the window. "I do not know," he said softly. "But if I ever do, I will not test her heart. I will simply trust it." And that, dear listener, is the truth about Ethan Moore, the billionaire who gave his credit card to 3 women to test them, only to discover that love cannot be bought, and trust cannot be earned through trials. It is found in kindness, in sacrifice, in the quiet courage of a maid who gave everything without expecting anything in return. Ethan's story is not about money. It is about redemption. About how sometimes, the people we overlook are the very ones sent to heal us. And maybe, just maybe, the greatest wealth is not what we keep, but what we give away. Sometimes, life uses pain to reveal purity. Ethan wanted to expose greed, but instead, he uncovered the only woman whose love was real, because it asked for nothing. So now, I leave you with one question. If you were given the same card, to buy whatever makes you happy, what would you choose, and what would that say about your heart? Thank you so much for watching and for journeying with me through this story of love, betrayal, and redemption. If this story touched something inside you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have not yet subscribed, I cannot wait for you to join this growing family. Every click of that subscribe button is the fuel that keeps stories